Hey there, folks. So I just wanted to talk to you guys a little bit today about Geo Group. I've been posting a little bit about Geo Group and their lobbyists this morning, so people who have been following along probably know a little bit about what I'm talking about. But basically, Geo Group is a for-profit prison company, and the way that they operate is they have lobbyists that communicate with your legislator on their behalf in the interest of their shareholders and to guarantee profits for their corporation. So I've been reading a little bit about it, and of course my browser slowed down to just a horribly small speed, so bear with me for a minute. But basically what I've figured out is that Geo Group has been lobbying lawmakers to make stricter enforcement policy for detaining illegal immigrants. And they have a long history of violating human rights, and there are thousands of cases that have been filed against Geo Group for their unconstitutional, immoral behavior. But one of the things that's allowing them to have this population in custody is a policy change, an immigration policy that was carried out under Obama's watch, actually. And what happened is they changed the guidelines for undocumented immigrants and changed it from a situation where undocumented immigrants were deported and put into deportation proceedings, and instead made it so that it's a criminal act to enter the United States illegally, and that when you do enter the United States illegally, you can be jailed for up to 6 months on the first violation, but on the second violation, you can be jailed for up to 20 years. So you can imagine 20 years of incarceration for someone who crossed the border illegally twice, what that looks like in profits for the prison industry. It's a pretty dramatic amount of profits, assuming they can keep their costs down. So one of the ways that Immigrations and Customs Enforcement, along with Geo Group, is keeping their costs down is through essentially depriving the illegal immigrants of due process and basic human rights. So one of the reports that I read today said that the people who are being detained are unable to receive clean food. They're only fed once per day, and they're given dirty underwear that other people have already worn. If you can imagine what that would feel like, receiving dirty underwear. But basically what's going on is that this detention corporation, Geo Group, is spending a lot of money to influence the United States legislators, and the amount that they invest in influencing the legislator is relatively small compared to their return. So in one of the reports that I read, they lobbied, or they donated to Marco Rubio $33,000 $33,500. And the contracts that they receive are now worth more than $3.3 billion. So, that's a pretty big return on investment if you pump just thousands of dollars into somebody's political campaign, and in return for that, get contracts worth over $3 billion. This is, in essence, what fascism looks like in the United States today. So another one of the articles that I was reading talks about a whistleblower that worked for Immigration and Customs Enforcement, and what he's alleging is that ICE doesn't, or not ICE, but Geo Group doesn't train their employees very well. According to this whistleblower, they actually don't train their employees at all, and then put them in facilities where they're responsible for the well-being of over 100 detainees. And the whistleblower says that the guards are regularly forced to work 12 and 16-hour shifts back to back. So that's 24 to 32 hours straight of supervising over 100 detainees. And his quote says, "If you can't handle it, you will lose your job." So basically, what's going on is that you have these prison guards that are responsible for over 100 people's well-being, that have to operate on a very, very small amount of resources. And so as a result of that, they don't have sufficient manpower to oversee their well-being. And one of the results of that is that there is a lot of sexual assault that's going on against the women and children who are in custody of Immigration and Customs Enforcement through the guise of Geo Group. So when you bring in a private contractor, basically what happens is it gives the federal government cover. They're able to indemnify themselves from the repercussions of illegal actions. So in this report that I was reading, it alleges that one of the people, and this is all during the Obama administration, most of the reports that I'm reading are from the time before Trump took office, and things have gotten dramatically worse for undocumented immigrants in the last year. But this report is saying that a woman who is in custody of Immigration and Customs Enforcement was returning from her hearing when one of the corrections officers forced her into a room without surveillance and told her that he had to do everything that he told her or she would be sodomized. So after the detainee filed an official complaint, instead of investigating the assault, the government threw her into solitary confinement for 11 days. So, when you bring something to the attention of these incarceration facilities, then rather than addressing the issues, what they do is punish the people who are bringing the issues to light. And it's not an isolated incident, that incident that I cited of someone facing reprisal over reporting sexual assault. It's not at all isolated. Recently, like in the last year, prisoners in different facilities went on hunger strike because Geo Group uses forced labor. So while you're being detained at one of these facilities and held for immigration violations, then you're forced to do manual labor. And so the prisoners weren't comfortable with forced labor, and the pay is only $1 a day. So, they'll work doing manual labor around the prison, and for their labor they receive $1 a day, which can be spent only in the commissary. And so the commissary in these facilities have enormously high markup on the items that are available to the prisoners. So if you want to buy something like a soda that you or I might pay 25 cents for, generic soda, prisoners will pay like $3 for it. And, that represents 3 days of their labor. So, obviously the treatment of the prisoners is inhumane and unconstitutional, and beyond unconstitutional, it violates the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. But what seems to be even more alarming, in one regard anyway, is that the GEO Group is a federal contractor. So the facilities that they operate under contracts with the federal government. So while they are operating as a contractor for the federal government, they're also donating to lobbying efforts to affect federal spending. And it creates a conflict of interest, because the federal employees who are taking these lobbying dollars then go on to affect federal policy and create laws that allow for further profits for the corporation that is donating to their campaign. So one of the beneficiaries of GEO Group's financial contributions is none other than the President of the United States, Donald Trump. And because Trump refuses to disclose his tax returns, we can't really be sure whether he is currently invested in GEO Group. But there's some speculation that the president might hold stocks in corporations like GEO Group while creating policy that directly benefits those corporations. So, it's a clear case of a conflict of interest, which used to be against the law. And, we don't really have law enforcement bodies that are willing to take actions against these legislators and corporations that are violating the public trust. But that's what's going on. So I just I've been reading about this all morning long, and there's a lot of evidence, there's a lot of reporting that's going on about it. You can find reporting from the Huffington Post, from The Nation. You can find reports from CNN, Newsweek. You can find reports from all sorts of different media outlets stating that there's a conflict of interest going on in detention policy, privatized prisons, and immigrations and customs enforcement, along with the GEO Group. Now, there's some history around the GEO Group, and if you take the time to read up on it, you'll be amazed about the history of the GEO Group. Sorry to the people on YouTube, my Facebook feed is lagging, so I'm waiting for Facebook to catch up. So I'm running two feeds right now. I've got YouTube running on one feed and Facebook running on the other feed. So I was talking a little bit about the history of Geo Group, and part of its dark history is that it got rebranded from Wackenhut. And Wackenhut is a former contractor to the Nazi Party in Germany. So while fascists were running the German government and carrying out Holocaust, there was a privatized prison company operating inside of Nazi Germany, and that private company was Wackenhut, which Wackenhut went on to become Geo Group and also G4S. So anyway, just a little sum up on what fascist America looks like and some of the corporations directly involved in the perfect marriage between corporation and state. So I appreciate you guys taking the time to tune in, and hope you have a great rest of your day out there, and I will be talking with you again very soon. If I can get my things to work over here.